Thursday, and we are going to talk a little bit about posture. We're almost done with the week, and so maybe you've spent many hours this week hunched forward on your in front of your computers, and so now it's time to work on the posture. So we're going to talk about standing posture and then sitting posture. You are probably sitting down at your desks right now, so go ahead and stand up. And we'll get back to seated in just a second, but we're going to talk about some ways to think about how to get yourself into good alignment. So first of all, if you have a mirror nearby, that can really help, but if not, that's okay. You're going to put a little soft bend into your knees, just a little bounce here so you know your knees are nice and soft, and you're going to put your hands on your hips and tilt forward and backward. So here my thumbs are higher than my fingertips, and then here my thumbs are lower than my fingertips. Does that make sense? So if my hands are on my waist, fingertips high, thumbs are pointing down towards the ground, and then if I go this way, fingertips are pointing down to the ground and thumbs are going up to the ceiling. So go ahead and rock back and forth. It doesn't have to be a forced arch in either direction, especially into this direction. And you're going to go back and forth a few times just to warm up, and then get to the point where your index finger and your thumbs are on the same plane. So my index finger is pointing pretty much straight forward, my thumb is pointing straight back. Maintain this position and stand straight up. For me, when I do it, I will naturally want to go into this kind of archy in my back position. Other people will want to come forward like this, but that's where the challenge is. So let's practice that a couple times. You're going to go arch, then round, then halfway in between, then maintain it and stand up. And then bend your knees again and go arch, round, halfway in between and stand up. Bend the knees and go gentle arch, gentle round, halfway in between and stand up. Let's do that 2 more times. Gentle arch, gentle tuck under, halfway in between and stand up. And last time, bend the knees. Little arch, little round, halfway in between, and maintain that position as you stand up. And hopefully you're feeling this kind of engage a little bit as you stand up, and maybe your glutes activate just a little bit. Nice. Next, we're going to travel up to our ribs. Our circle of ribs here should be directly on top of a circle of our pelvis. And sometimes people are shifted this way, that way, or that way. So let's practice that a little bit. Let's just find where the center is. Go one direction and the other direction, keeping the legs still. I do have a soft bend in my knees. And find halfway in between. Now, you're gonna come forward and round back. This is where a lot of people hang out a little bit, with the shoulders forward and upper back rounded forward. And then forward and back. So you see my ribs are in front of my pelvis, and now my ribs are behind my pelvis. Find the center where your ribs are right on top of your pelvis. Let's go back to the first exercise. Little arch, little round, halfway in between. So now we're flat here. Our ribs are right on top of our pelvis. And then we're gonna stand up. Nice. Okay, traveling up to the shoulders. So our shoulders can come to the front and they can come to the back. I'm sure you've seen yourself or other people hang out like this or like this. So just go forward and back and play with that for a little bit. Good to get the movement in you know, there is an ideal posture, but you don't have to stay there 100% of the time. In fact, you shouldn't. You should move in and out of it. And I should say there's probably an ideal posture for you. It might not be the same for everybody. So we're trying to find like kind of like a universal ideal. But we all shouldn't just stay like statically in that position. And so we're moving in and out of where the shoulders go, and then you're gonna find somewhere in between, pretty much where your shoulders are lined up with your ears. Great. And then from here, let those arms just hang down. All right, so starting from the hips, we're gonna go little gentle arch. Oh. Sorry guys, let me do that. Okay, all right. Little gentle arch, little gentle round, halfway in between, and stand up. Your ribs can go right or one side and the other side, come halfway in between. Your ribs come forward, they go back, and stop right in the center when they're on top of your pelvis. So you've found your foundation, built on top of that, then our shoulders can go forward and back and halfway in between, and the arms just hang down. Your shoulders lined up with your ears. Now for your neck and your head, also you can go forward and back, yeah? You might have seen people in your life that hang out like this. It's all scrunched up back here. So let's go forward, let's go back, forward and back, and come halfway in between. Again, shoulders, ears stacked on top of shoulders. But then from here, we can be like this, with our chin kind of up, and we can go chin down, like hanging down, like looking at your book, or your laptop, or your baby. You want to come to this point where the ears are lined up on top of the shoulders, and the top of the head is pulling up towards the sky or the ceiling. So a nice easy way to remember that is as if, imagine you have helium balloons tied up to your ears and they're pulling you up to the sky. Or as my coworker Tanya likes to say, you have angels pulling you up. Or maybe elfkin ears. Lots of different ways to think about being pulled up this way. All right, so let's start from the beginning again. Start from our foundation. We are gonna bend our knees a little bit, do a little gentle arch, a gentle round, come halfway in between, keeping like this flat and stand up. That takes work for me, because like I said, I wanna do that, so I have to work to stay here. And then let's have our ribs go side to side. Usually people don't drift in that direction. And ribs come forward, ribs come back, and find halfway in between where our ribs are stacked right on top of our pelvis. Then our shoulders are gonna come forward and back and come halfway in between, so they're right on underneath the ears. And their head is gonna go forward and back, and then go right in between, again with ears right over shoulders. Chin comes up, chin comes down, chin comes halfway in between. It's kind of like your head is like in a little rotisserie spit, or I think that's what it's called, and you circle. Or again, pulling up like helium balloons are pulling you up to the sky. All right, so there's your standing posture. From there, to strengthen that, we're gonna open like this. Now you can do this with a band, pulling on the band, like, or you can imagine that you have some resistance and you're pulling a band apart. You don't even have to have the band, you can just do the work. And we go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, now put the hands down. From here, helium balloons attached to your ears, and they're gonna pull you up, 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 up until you go up onto your tippy toes. Yeah? So, if you had a choice between leaning a little bit forward and a little bit back, what is better for your posture and your core engagement overall is to lean just a little bit forward. Not like this, but like the whole body kind of leans forward like Michael Jackson style, but not that far. All right, so just a little bit forward, and then helium balloons rise up and down, and up and down. Let's do 8 more. 8. Our weight is like obviously a little bit more on our toes so that we can rise those heels right up. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so now you're lifted, and maybe you can go and go grab some lunch or something, but if you need to go sit back down again, let's talk about sitting posture. All right, so I have this, my chair, which rolls around, so it might roll around on me. And you want to think about some similar things here. Let's start from the top and go down. The head will be such that the helium balloons are pulling you up to the ceiling still. Yeah? It's like a little bit like you would grow taller. Like your seat is anchored into the ground, into your bottom, meaning your seat, is like roots into the ground, and you are rising up out of it. Yeah? You should feel a little bit of engagement when you're there in the center. Okay, so from here, rising up, like helium balloons bringing you up to the sky. Your shoulders, again, are lined up underneath your ears. Your ribs are lined up on top of your pelvis. So people tend to be like this, kind of spilled forward in their seat, nice and like tight here in their hips, tail sticking back. And other people end up like curled under like this. Yeah, I'm sure those positions look pretty familiar to you. So let's get the ribs circled directly on top of the pelvis circle, not leaning forward and not leaning back. Great. And here's where some considerations come in that are a little bit different when you're sitting than when you're standing. So when you're sitting, I'm assuming on a computer, you want your arms right down by your side such that your elbows are right next to you, not here or here. I don't know anybody that would be here, but yeah, a lot of people end up right here. Maybe with their dining table underneath their forearm and typing on their laptop like this. So bring it in so where your arms can hang down. That might mean you need a little lower tray for your keyboard to be down low. So your arms are hanging down, your elbow, if this is 90 degrees, should be a little bit more in this direction, just kind of hanging down. And your wrist might want to be like this, holding onto the mouse. Get that wrist in that same line. All right, so we're here. Now same thing for the bottom part of you. I guess maybe you can't see me because I have a black stool and black pants. Let me try a better chair. You can see this a little bit better. Okay, so this chair is oversized for me. I can't get back here. I'll just like hang. This is like short people problems. But okay, so I would sit a little bit forward so I can get my feet flat on the ground. So we talk about the arms like this. Parallel to your arms are your thighs. So this is 90 degrees for my elbow bend here. I'm gonna lower it down a little bit, and my thighs are pretty much doing the same thing. They're not parallel to the ground. My knees are a little bit lower than my hips. Feet are flat on the ground. Ideally, my keyboard is right here. Ideally, my screen is right here. And I'm not having to do this to read it. Yeah? So there's the sitting posture. Let's practice hinging forward and coming back. Good thing I took that stool away, because I'd probably roll out from behind me. Okay, so as you come forward and back, You can feel maybe the edge of the chair on your thighs, and as you come back, you might feel your sits bones, the bones that you sit on, get right on top of that chair. So we're gonna come forward and back to directly onto the top of the sits bones, and like your helium balloon is pulling you up. In fact, you can have the helium balloon pulling you forward and pulling you up. Let's do 4 more. 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Nice. Can we do that same hinge but backwards? That's a little bit hard. Yeah? Let's try to keep, we're not arching our back. We're keeping this like space between the bottom ribs and our pelvis the same distance, even as we lean back and come straight up and lean back. This is like a straight back, almost like a sit-up. You feel yourself engage in the front to keep you from keeping on falling back. Let's do 4 more. 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. All right, let's put it all together. We're at this great sitting posture. Helium balloon pulling us up, arms down by our side, typing away. And then now we're gonna stand up. Those helium balloons are gonna pull us up. We're gonna try to get it so that our ribs are on top of our pelvis. Our pelvis is flat here, not tipping in either direction. And we were already lined up nicely here, and we just maintain that. Let's try that again. Hinge at your hips, lean forward a little bit and sit down. Get on top of those sits bones. Okay. Helium balloons pulling up. Helium balloons pulling us forward. Stand up. Ribs on top of pelvis. Shoulder under your ears. Helium balloons pulling us up. And if you want, you can rise up. Good. Last time, let's put it all together. And lean, stand, line up, and lift. All right. Okay, so I hope that helps you kind of clarify where an ideal posture might be for you when you're sitting or when you're standing. But to be honest, the best option is to not always be sitting in the same position all the time. Like right now, I'm kind of twisted, and that's okay. But I wouldn't want to stay twisted all day long like this, yeah? So I would vary it up. Variety is the key.